Across the Carolinas, there are countless stories of the most fascinating, interesting, and compelling people, places, and things. And nowhere has there been a better place to find those stories than on WBTV. Hello, I'm John Carter. 50 years ago, WBTV began a feature that highlighted the best of the Carolinas, and it became an overnight sensation. It would go on to become the best loved, most recognized, and most watched feature in Charlotte television history. It was called Carolina Camera. And we are celebrating 50 years of Carolina Camera. It was all about the Carolinas, but it was national in scope. From the Carolinas to Burbank, California, and the most famous late-night talk show ever.
Frank makes his jewelry in a cluttered room in his barn. He carefully pours liquid plastic into a mold and covers each dropping.
I haven't made a lot of money out of it, but it sure has opened a lot of doors for me, and I met a lot of nice people just on account of the craft.
When Frank Hill, the doo-doo man of South Carolina, first appeared on Carolina Camera, he became an instant sensation. And not just on WBTV. Not long after appearing on Carolina Camera, Mr. Hill was invited to be a guest on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Of course, Carson was the king of late-night TV, and Frank Hill and his doo-doo jewelry were seen by millions of viewers across the nation.
I made him a star, and had a big dropping in it. Had a star with a big dropping for a big star, and he said he was touched.
So how did Frank Hill make it all the way out to Burbank, California to appear on The Carson Show?
One day I'm sitting at my desk and the phone rings, and it was a woman who was a producer with the Johnny Carson Show. And she said, she introduced herself, and at first I didn't believe, I was like, yeah, right. But she said, we frequently will contact feature reporters around the country to see if they have any interesting characters that we could put on Carson. And I said, well, you've come to the right place.
Over the course of the years, The Carson Show stayed in touch with Carolina Camera, and that led to more appearances on The Carson Show. Barney Odom and Flatnose the Dog, Rufus Hussey, the Bean Shooter Band. They also appeared on The Tonight Show after having been featured on Carolina Camera. Virgil and Mary Thomas of Concord were on Carolina Camera as they celebrated 75 years of being married on Valentine's Day. That led them to being highlighted on the Paul Harvey Radio Show, then the most listened to radio program in the United States. And while many Carolina Camera subjects appeared on national programs, the essence of the feature was to bring local viewers a slice of life in the Carolinas.
It simply was a spotlight on the doings of ordinary people.
Sometimes we just need a break to really see the positive side of life. And what Carolina Camera did then and did for so many years was really help people see the goodness in people, the uniqueness in people, the special interests in people, and really bring that out, and it would just touch your heart.
The year was 1970. Milk was $1.82 a gallon. Gas was 36 cents a gallon. The Vietnam War raged on. The voting age was lowered to 18 from 21. Houston, we have a problem. Apollo 13 had a massive malfunction on its way to the moon. Musicians Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin both died of drug overdoses. Midnight Cowboy won Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
From WBTV News, this is Newsbreak. This is Janet Voles reporting.
And 1970 marked a major change in newscasts in the Carolinas. WBTV became the first station in the Carolinas to go from a 30-minute newscast to an hour-long newscast. There was plenty of news to cover, but an hour-long newscast also provided more time to go beyond just news. It meant there was time to do a substantial feature segment.
And to take a moment, take a few minutes in the newscast to back off and say, here's one of your neighbors. And that's what it was. We were introducing people to their neighbors, whether they lived next door or 60 miles away. And I just love that. I love the dimension of real getting down to earth with people.
The segment would be known as Carolina Camera, and C.J. Underwood, a reporter at WBTV, was given the assignment. Legendary anchorman Bob Inman started working at WBTV in 1970, just after Carolina Camera debuted.
Oh, it was an overnight sensation. People had just never seen anything like that on a newscast in the Carolinas. And so people loved it right from the get-go. And I was so impressed that, you know, by the time I got there a month later, it had really become a star.
Thus began an unprecedented run of stories that captured the magic of what the Carolinas are all about.
Carolina Camera was something that you can take pride in. You know, we want to take pride in the community we live in, the people who are around us, and it really showed a lot of the good that's happening right in our backyard.
And Carolina Camera meant Carolina, North and South Carolina. From Murphy to Manteo, Walhalla to Bluffton, Carolina Camera traveled to cities big and small, known and not so well known, bringing back fascinating and compelling stories that captured the heart of life in the Carolinas.
My brother says, oh, I just can't believe those old ladies shaking like that.
I feel the history of the area is very important, and this area has a lot of history.
Because, you know, you don't know a lot of things until you meet others and you go, oh, that's capable, you can do this. To meet so many other whistlers, you know, to hear what they bring to the table, to learn from each other, that kind of thing.
There's too many Americans just alike, and I want to be a little bit different. T-N-E-R-E-F-F-I-D.
I feed them plenty, I think, don't I, boys?
I'd rather eat in here than any other jail I've been in.
I'm doing something that I like to do. I like meeting people. I like talking to people.
He puts a lot of smiles on people's faces.
The dog got on shade. Yes, he got on shade.
It makes me feel good just to, like, basically show the guys up. Because I don't like the stereotypes of girls not able to do what guys do.
The Rotan brothers, John, David, and Aaron, were featured on Carolina Camera more than 30 years ago when they were still in their teens, would-be movie makers using their VHS camera. Today, all three are deeply involved in the movie and television industry.
To this very day, by the way, John, my brothers tease me about a certain line in that original report where I was saying I walked a paper out, I saved up my money, and in my thick North Carolina accent, I said, for about a year and a few months.
I have a paper out, and I saved up all my money for about a year and a few months.
31 years later, anytime we're talking about a time period or a time frame to do something, John or Aaron always says, for about a year and a few months. So, yeah, running joke.
Yep. Well, clearly the success of Carolina Camera was due to the subjects who were featured in the stories. The feature wasn't meant to be about the host, but it was hard to separate the host from the story at times. And when we come back, I'll look at the reporters who are at the heart of Carolina Camera. Welcome back. I'm John Carter. It's been 50 years since Carolina Camera debuted on WBTV News. And here's the old WBTV News logbook from 1970. This was before computers were the norm in the newsroom. And at the time, the stories in each day's newscast were logged by hand in these red books, as they were called. Here it is, September 7th, 1970, a Monday, Labor Day, the day Carolina Camera first aired. At the top of the page, you can see the story was called M Beach. Probably stands for Myrtle Beach. And the reporter for that first Carolina Camera, C.J. Underwood.
Harriet May spends 11 hours pumping gas at her father's service station. Any of you bachelors who feel Harriet is worth waiting for at age 65 had better be prepared for an eventful retirement.
Even though Carolina Camera wasn't about the reporter doing the story, it was hard to separate CJ from the story because of his distinctive personality and style of reporting. A North Carolina native and graduate of UNC Chapel Hill, CJ came to WBTV in 1967 and worked as a general assignment reporter. He wasn't afraid to let his personality show, and he was at his best when doing a story on people who had a story to tell. That made him the perfect choice to be the first host of Carolina Camera.
CJ was both exotic and down to earth. That's the only way I know how to describe him. An absolutely fantastic human being.
He was a character.
He was a character in his own right.
CJ was always the most relaxed guy, you know, and he was a true North Carolinian, you know, and I'd gone to school in Chapel Hill, but I was originally from New York. And so he was this calm guy who had a wonderful feeling of the region and just lit up with the people who lived in all the nooks and crannies of the zillion little towns and little hamlets. And really, that made him special.
You know, he had and I should say this, he had a thick Southern accent, you know, and typically they wouldn't put a guy like that on television, but he had such a big personality that whoever hired him here recognized this guy people will love him on television, and they did. They did.
CJ was a master storyteller and unparalleled wordsmith. Over the course of the years, he brought viewers more memorable stories than can be counted. But one in particular stands out as the most colorful.
And I'm the only man there is in this county that absolutely outrun Polly White. Days that's gone by, we'd laugh about that. And he said, I must be partly lizard because I outrun him mosquitoing on my belly.
Willard Watson was a former moonshiner from Wilkes County. If ever anyone was born to be a story, it was Willard Watson, the epitome of a mountain man. To this day, people still talk about that story. CJ Underwood passed away in 2000, but his legacy lives on. He set a standard for Carolina Camera that was followed by the handful of hosts who came after him.
Well, each person who has been the host of Carolina Camera over the years has brought his own perspective to it, his own way of doing things. They weren't trying to reinvent CJ Underwood. They were trying to be themselves and take their unique perspective on the story. But they all had the same quality of being able to find those wonderful people stories and bring them to life.
Reporter Bill Ballard was the second Carolina Camera host. He pulled off quite a coup when he managed to land an exclusive interview with Frances Beauvier, the actress who played Aunt Bee on The Andy Griffith Show.
Some of your friends in Mayberry were always trying to get a little romance involved in Aunt Bee's life. Have you had any of the same things here in Siler City?
No, they haven't confused me to that extent.
Bill later became news director at WBTV, and CJ once again took over Carolina Camera before becoming a regular on Top of the Day on WBTV. That's when Andrew Shore became the new Carolina Camera host.
Probably no two men did more to make North Carolina's Outer Banks famous than Wilbur and Orville Wright.
It was almost tourism, cultural tourism throughout the Carolinas that Carolina Camera did in a very positive way, in a very personal way, where you met individuals who you might otherwise never meet, but could touch your soul.
Tom Melton is not the only man with a story to tell about the origin of Lincoln. There are several books about the subject.
Ken Udy then hosted Carolina Camera for a little more than a year before becoming the station's political reporter. Guess who came back? CJ again for 2 more years. Then in 1982, I took over as host for 8 months before being assigned to WBTV's Western Bureau. Mark Garrison then took on the role of host.
Shut up. Noise is a no-no here. The sign says if you play checkers, you don't talk, or it'll cost you a quarter.
You know, I have said to people it was kind of like being a professional visitor, because you just roamed around meeting interesting people and spending time with them. yes, you were shooting a story, but you were getting to know them as well and what made them tick.
It was Mark who worked closest with The Johnny Carson Show, as several of the folks featured in his stories were seen on The Tonight Show. Mark later moved on, and once again, you guessed it, CJ took over the duties. Then in 1986, I took over the role again and did stories until 1989. That's when a big change came. For years, Carolina Camera was featured each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on WBTV's 6 o'clock newscast. But in 1989, then station management decided to cut back on Carolina Camera, leaving it in somewhat of a limbo. Later, John Huffman and Terry Shields each were hosts of a scaled-back Carolina Camera, but it eventually disappeared from the airwaves. Now, there was a brief Carolina Camera resurgence after 2010 when both Christine Spiro and I hosted monthly hour-long Carolina Camera specials. The last of those aired in 2016. But now there's about to be another big change involving Carolina Camera, and I'm going to have more on that when this Carolina Camera 50th anniversary special continues. Welcome back, I'm John Carter. While the hosts of Carolina Camera were certainly the face of the feature, the people behind the lens of the camera played a role just as important. After all, it was called Carolina Camera.
But the photographer was everything because they had to have a sense of what's happening over here. I need to get this. And sometimes I would be oblivious to it. Several times George would poke me and go, hey, hey, hey. So it really was a team effort.
John Steed, who recently retired after 51 years at WBTV, was the first Carolina Camera photographer. He was followed by a handful of other photographers, all of whom were considered the best of the best. Dave Clanton, Chuck Hemrick, George Williams, Terry Lorch, Brad Stafford, Joe Travis, Kevin Ryan, Kevin Marlowe.
Just in the name of the show, Carolina Camera. So I think you had to really up your game of shooting different shots, more creative shots, kind of really follow what the people were saying, really get in there and get good sound when they were just walking around or talking to people than you would have normally if you were just shooting a house fire or a car accident, which we do on a daily basis. I think you really had to kind of up it just a little bit just to get the camera part. We really tried to stress, I think, the camera part of Carolina Camera.
Although it's been several years since Carolina Camera last aired, viewers still love to watch. And if views on YouTube are any indication, they love to watch a lot. Not only can you find random Carolina Camera stories on YouTube, there is a dedicated Carolina Camera channel, and the stories have had millions of views. Millions. And that is testament to the endearing power of Carolina Camera, stories that are as compelling and fascinating today as they were when they aired all those many years ago. Stories that appeal to young and old alike. Perhaps it's time to bring back Carolina Camera and experience that magic once again? Well, stay with us. When we come back, a major discovery and a big announcement as we wrap up 50 years of Carolina Camera. This is the video archives room here at WBTV News, and over the course of the years, thousands of news stories have been shot on videotape and stored on these video cassettes. But back in 1970, before videotape became the primary medium of newsrooms, news stories and the Carolina Camera were shot on film and stored on these types of reels. Now, film is not as durable as videotape. In fact, it deteriorates over time. Plus, over the course of 50 years, as the newsroom went from film to videotapes, some of these reels at WBTV were either misplaced or lost, some of them even destroyed. As I was doing research for this special and going through the storage area outside the archives room, I ran across all sorts of WBTV artifacts. And that's when I found these old film canisters in this cabinet. They were covered in dust and clearly hadn't been touched or seen in years. When I looked closer, the labels gave away their secret. And these film canisters hold some of the earliest Carolina Camera stories from the 1970s. The plan is to have them transferred to digital medium and watch them all over again. You know, it's clear there are plenty more stories out there that need to be told, and we're going to bring them to you because Carolina Camera is coming back. Beginning in January, Carolina Camera will be featured weekly on our QC Live shows right here on WBTV. We're going to be bringing you all new stories as well as going through the archives and bringing back some of the best of Carolina Camera. Now, perhaps you know someone or you know some place or something that you think would make a good Carolina Camera story. Well, we want to hear from you. Send your ideas to carolinacamera@wbtv.com. It's going to be quite a ride, so stay tuned. There is much more to come. And thanks for watching as we celebrate 50 years of Carolina Camera. I'm John Carter. I'll see you down the road.